And there we go.
There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Come to you, as always, from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Galactic Empire. My name is John Tully, and joining me, as always, are my two co-hosts. First, there's Mr. Garrett Jones. Garrett, how are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How's everything out in the Midwest and Far West?
I'm doing good. And Will, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Just excited to talk about
the Midwest. We lost power for about 3 hours last night.
Oh, okay.
Which was fun. Had a big windstorm. In fact,
what's going on?
Did we lose you?
I think he froze.
He froze. He's frozen in time. Hopefully he didn't lose power again.
You guys are real choppy, just so you know.
There we go.
Okay. So are you. Anyway, but sorry that you lost power. I'm doing good. But excited to talk about Andor, so I say we get right to it.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
Did you have something you needed to talk about first, though, John?
You guys are in and out.
I haven't eaten there in quite a while. But that joke only lands if you're from California.
Yeah.
I think we lost John.
And we lost John. He's doing a reset. Okay. Well, I think he needed to do something for the Red 5 network. I think he needed to make an announcement. So we'll let him, when he's ready to come back in with that, we will let him do that.
Yes.
Okay. But in the meantime, I guess we can get started and talk a little bit about Andor's episode. Is this episode 7, I believe?
Yeah, this was episode 7. We've got 5 left.
So we're at past the halfway point. Hey, there he's back, or at least we think he's back. Are you back, John? I see him, but I don't hear him. Okay.
Sorry, it got really. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
me.
Yes, we can hear you.
You guys are you have been real kind of in and out.
Not on my end.
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Copy that.
We hear you saying testing. You're a little delayed in your video. From my vantage point, Garrett and I are coming in.
Can you hear me now?
Clear.
Yes,
We can hear you. I feel this might be a Wi-Fi issue coming from John's area. Yeah,
I think so too, and he may need to reset his browser.
Yeah,
reset his router. I mean,
He's just frozen again, and there he's gone.
And I'm sending him a message.
Yeah, poor John. This kind of happened
when you're in the Midwest.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think last time, or one of the last times, he did the whole thing. It wasn't even coming up on the screen. It was just frozen.
I know.
So, all right. Well, I don't know. Do we wait for him, or do we?
I say we go because we're already broadcasting.
Yeah, we are broadcasting. It's live. So sorry for the delay. Sorry for the tech issues, folks. When John gets back on, hopefully he'll be able to join us.
We're in the hands of engineers.
Yes, God help us. All right.
So yes, yeah, we're on episode. We just finished episode 7. Episode 8 is coming up on Wednesday. I'm excited because this is probably the most Star Wars-y episode of them all so far because we finally get our first look at Stormtroopers and we see the Arabesh digital scroll on the walls in the transit center. With requiring of the chain code, and it is just bonkers.
Well, I mean, come on, Wolf Yularen. I mean, let's talk about Wolf Yularen. Holy cow! And they didn't even have to announce him. Everybody just knew. If you know Star Wars, you know who that is.
Yes.
So, you with us again, John? Anything? Any luck?
All right.
Okay. You seem like you're there.
Let's see if this works. Let's go and.
We just started talking about it. We just got into it.
Real choppy. That's my.
Yeah. But on our end, it's not. Both Garrett and I are not choppy, but you are. So we think it might be something on
Okay.
in your with your Wi-Fi. Seems better now though.
Yeah, it could be. Like I said, we lost power for about 3 hours yesterday evening. A power line went down. Actually, it caused a big cornfield fire out here. So.
Oh my goodness! Yikes!
That's no bueno.
No good.
Yeah. All right. So, what have you guys talked about already? What have I missed?
We just barely got into it. I was talking about how this is probably the most Star Warsy, episode so far, with the Arabesh use and the chain code mentions and the Stormtroopers, and Will was saying, we had the Wolf Yularen present in the episode.
Yes, I the minute I saw him, like, ooh, I know who that is.
I was geeking out.
Seeing this, I almost want to title this episode "Stormtroopers, Short Troopers, and Clone Troopers." Oh my!
Yeah. No, that's good. That's true.
Like, finally, we got Stormtroopers. Yeah.
Yes.
But it was
It was a good episode. I like there was definitely. I mean. What's interesting is you had a lot of stuff that feel
you guys
like
are really lagging behind on my end, just so you know.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to do.
Neither do I. Yeah, but I was. A lot of stuff happens in this episode. You've got Cyril Karn getting a new job, which he's taking some liberties with and trying to do more investigative stuff than he's supposed to be doing. We have Vel, who's now, it looks like she's on Coruscant, and she's interacting with a new operative. And then we have Andor's parents, or his adoptive parents, basically not wanting to, or his adoptive mother not wanting to leave the area, Ferrix, and she's telling him to get the heck out of there.
Right. Yeah, so much. There was just I kind of like the name of the episode is called Announcement. I kind of like to call it Aftermath because it feels as though there's this is like a result of everything. Like it seems as though those first 6 episodes led to the end of that 6th episode with the heist, and that became clear. And then there was the announcement of the arrival of the rebels, and then how everybody reacted to it. And it was happening on so many different levels. It wasn't just one story. It was like 4 stories going on. You had Cassian dealing with, his trying to just go back and grab and take and get his mother and get his droid and say, let's get off this planet. And how interesting that was. Such an emotional conversation, not confrontation, but conversation between him and his mom. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And even the droid, like a little excited puppy. I loved it.
Yeah.
He's so loyal.
Oh my God, yeah. One of my favorite lines. That's love. Nothing you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you can do about it. Just why we worry. My God, anybody who has worries about a parent or a child or a loved one. It's just you can't control it. Sometimes it's just there. Believe me. We know that as parents, we know that, my wife and I. So, just such a cool thing. And, but let's talk about some of this one. I think gave us the most, I don't want to say fan service, because that's I don't like that word, because it's used, or that phrase, it's used in a negative connotation. Oh, that's just fan service. Like, well, we're fans. Shouldn't we be serviced? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I mean, I get trying to tell new stories and new styles of stories, which is what this Andor has been, and I appreciate that. And not wanting to constantly do something that's totally derivative over and over and over, and just keep spinning and rehashing the same kind of story. I get that. Then not wanting that type of fan service all the time necessarily, but at the same time, I think just having imagery and worlds and characters, even if they appear in the background, I think that's really cool. So, of course, we talked about the clone. We have the appearance of clones in the flashback, which, again, the really cool thing about this is that not until the TV shows, the TV streaming service plus the Disney Plus series, did we ever have real clones, right? All the clones that existed in episodes 2 and 3, or, and of course, not without saying the Clone Wars cartoon series, they were all digital. They were all fake. I mean, they were all just done in a computer. No real armor, no real actors in suits. And then you get to, the later episode, things like the flashback with Grogu and Mandalorian. You get the whole Obi-Wan episode, flashbacks with the clone troopers. They're all real actors in real practical suits. And it's kind of cool to see it. And then we see this again with the Type 2 armor or Type 1 armor. I forget which armor it was. It was pretty recent. It was pretty much the standard early clone trooper armor. So that was pretty cool. And then that's a throwback to the prequels. Then you got hello. He's got.
Sorry, I'm moved closer to the router.
Okay. Look
so
at
I'm in
you.
a different room. I'm in a different room, as you can tell.
Look at you. You look great, and I can see you, and you're not fuzzy, and when you talk, your lips moved, and it says the words you're saying. It's great.
Everything's in sync.
It's all coming together now.
It's all part of the plan.
Yes.
So you're not looking in the bathroom.
It looks like you're going to start, crooning a few tunes here. Okay. This next one, I'd like to go out to my dear, dear sweet mother.
Yes, the one who blames me for bringing shame on the family because I got fired from my job on Ferrex.
Yeah, there we go.
Sorry, too close to home.
Sorry, too soon.
Hold on 1 second. I got to grab something.
Okay, well, we'll keep chatting while you're grabbing stuff. But he's all over the place. All right, so anyway, nice chair, nice couch. All right, so
chair is so epic.
Wow, look at that thing, man! Talk about world building. That couch belongs in Star Wars. Holy cow!
It seems like something Lando would have.
Oh my God, it's such a land. It's like, where did you get that couch, man? That looks like something. That looks like something Lando. I'm afraid. Where did you get that piece of furniture you're sitting on? That was pretty epic.
I don't know. That would be my wife.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so we were just talking about how this episode seemed to provide a little bit more of the term that I don't like called fan service, but in a sense that, in that I don't like it in that I feel it's like a derogatory term when I feel like it's okay to have fan service. It doesn't have to be all the time. You don't have to smack people over the head with it constantly. Yeah. So it was nice to have this episode where we saw clone troopers, throw back to the prequels. We saw shore troopers, throw back to the Disney era, not the sequels necessarily, but of course Rogue One. And of course, and not really featured greatly Stormtroopers. Yeah. It just kind of in the back, and
but enough so that when you saw them, like when I saw them, like I said, I'm like, ooh, we finally get Stormtroopers. But
I love how
awesome.
The dialogue with the shore trooper was done by, I guess it would. Sam
Witwer.
Sam Witwer, thank you.
Yeah,
I think Sam voices literally 60% of all stormtroopers that we ever hear in the new era. David W. Collins voices like the other 40%. It's basically just the two of them. Yeah.
Well, then you have D. Bradley Baker, who does all the voice of the clones.
Yeah, right. Then you get D. Bradley Baker. He's the clones. So anyway, but it was great to see them. And it was great to see them just kind of in a storytelling, almost backgroundy element, just to kind of show that.
Yeah.
And then, but it was interesting, the appearance of Wolf Yularen at the beginning, not really announcing himself, no context as to who he was, just just the credits that rolled at the end. So,
but again, I mean, I'm sure as I already mentioned, if you're a Star Wars fan, you probably knew who he was. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, that was one where my wife and I were watching, and she hasn't watched the Clone Wars as much. She's seen all the movies, but she hasn't really watched the animated series. So she didn't realize who that was. And I said, well, there was this character in you should see me trying to explain it. Well, there's this character in A New Hope. He has no lines, and he doesn't do much. He just sits in the background. But you pick him out because he's the only one wearing a white uniform, and is at the table of all the different. She knew that scene, and she knew the scene with Mahdi getting choked, but she didn't remember that particular character. So, well, he had a bigger part in the Clone Wars. He was he worked with Anakin and Ahsoka, and then he made a little smaller part in the Rebels, but she didn't see those, so it was hard to understand. But still, glad it was there.
Yeah, yeah. What do you guys think of the conversation between Mon Mothma and Luthen? Yeah,
I think that was I was shocked. I mean, I didn't realize that Mon Mothma didn't really know about it.
Yeah, and I kind of like that because I think in the past the line from Into the Republic to Rebellion with Mon Mothma seemed like a very straight line.
Right.
She starts out as this, but now we're seeing that there's, more layers to this, that, maybe there's a reason why when she finally does go and finally make the declaration of that she's leaving the Senate, that she's, doing this rebellion, that she does it the way she does it.
Yeah.
Because if you're noticing right now, we're not seeing things. We're not seeing ranks. We're not seeing structure.
Right.
Where Mon Mothma's rebellion seemed to be very much, she wanted to get an organized rebellion, something with ranks, with structure, with a governmental structure that, that this was one army facing another army.
Right. No, that's true. And I think that, but what we started to see, happening here a little bit, and it didn't really seem this way. By the time I got to Rogue One, I think it was what you're saying. It seemed like a lot of it, but even in Rogue One, they had the General Rebellion, right? The Rebel Alliance with all the people there meeting, and then you had those little outskirts like Saw Gerrera.
Yeah, the partisans.
That they didn't even want to associate themselves with. I think this tells a story. And then if you watch Rebels, there's Lothal doing their whole thing. They're just doing whatever they can there. And it wasn't until the end of the season that they started trying to combine their forces. Yeah. So I think it's kind of interesting to see that not everybody knows what the other, not every hand knows what the other hand is doing,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting with this is that not only is their ideology about how to go about rebellion vastly different, but if you look at the way that Luthen operates, is he operates by providing her, even though she doesn't recognize it now, he's providing her plausible deniabilities. Even if something gets tied back to her as a customer of his shop, she can say, I had no idea what this is, and it would be completely truthful.
Yeah.
Right. That's all she did.
Yeah. And I liked how when she goes into Luthen's shop, how he frames it, he turns her around so that his driver can't see what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's talking, he's just saying acting like, oh, it's just a normal customer. And because he knows that her driver probably is ISB.
Right. That's what she said. Yeah. It is ISB.
Which would make the most sense that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved the whole duplicit nature of it. Yeah. When they would come in and face away from the window so he couldn't see, and they would say certain things, and then they would turn around, and when they turn around, the conversation still made sense, and you could see what they were talking about, but you could see that they were talking, it had double meaning.
Yeah. There's a lot of subtext here. And I think from a writing perspective, that it's a fantastic use of subtext, because you see that there are little hints and remnants of threat and danger involved in what they're saying.
Right.
But the entire time, if you were just stumbling into that conversation as another customer, you wouldn't get that hidden meaning, because all you're thinking is, oh, they're talking about these antiques and these collectibles. It means nothing if you're an outsider. But if you are someone who is an insider, you might pick up on it, like the driver might if he's reading lips, which if he's ISB, chances are he probably has been trained to do something similar to that.
Yeah,
like some casual observation or whatever.
Yeah. Wait, just I mean the mistrust and how the Empire just does so. The eyes and ears are everywhere. You can't trust anybody. Who can you trust?
Yeah,
and the links people will go through. And I thought it was interesting that the hold on just a second. That Deidre gets what the rebels are trying to do. Like, she sees that we're playing into that, the Empire is playing into their hands.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like right away. And Lucen, I mean, pretty much says it, when he says that people, there's going to be chaos. She said, people are going to die, and he's like, I know, I'm counting on it.
Yeah,
good.
This is it. We need to move, which is scary, but
yeah,
I
mean, it's interesting nonetheless.
Well, and for me, one of the things I like about this is that, like, Luthen as a character, he's got a very interesting psychology about him, because he weighs the cost of what he's doing. Like, he is concerned about Andor's involvement in the heist, thinking it's going to completely fail, and he's worried about the people that he's sending into that mission because they could end up dead.
Right.
But at the same time, with regards to the rebellion as a whole, he understands that some people are going to die for the cause. Yeah. And he's as worried as he gets about the individual. It's on the grander scheme, he understands there's going to be a cost. And are these going to be lives that are spent, or are they lives that are going to be wasted in as human currency, essentially, in the fallout of everything that they're going to do?
Yeah.
Well, think about what Luthen said to Cassian. Like, wouldn't you rather give it all for something really big? Yeah. To me, that sounded like a recruitment for a one-way trip mission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, and I think he might have. And they even talked about that mission, the mission, the robbery mission, as a suicide mission.
Right.
And that was kind of, I think everyone got into it. I thought it was interesting, looking at some of the gray areas.
Right.
We see when Val comes back, she's talking to the other rebel, and they talk about tying up loose ends, which is very much about a sense of, okay, we need to find this guy and we need to eliminate him.
Now
he's too much of a liability.
Now you wonder, though, was that just her doing that, or did Luthen send her to do that? That's a question.
I don't know. I also thought it was interesting the way Luthen recruited, and Luthen, is getting money for the rebellion, and then you have that counteracted with Mon Mothma at the party.
Yeah.
And how she is manipulating and almost bringing this guy, like, let me bring you into my web of lies. Let me show you what I'm really doing. And how you can see she's looking at him and thinking, can I trust this person? And then, doing the little bits here and there to be like, okay, I can. And then finally bringing him in and saying, like, hey, here's what's really going on. But I'm not going to tell you everything that's really going on, but here's what's going on. And,
it's interesting. Like, for her to trust, I mean, I guess they were childhood friends.
Yeah, that's kind of how it almost seems like they might have been like high school
sweethearts.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where her husband plays in on all of this.
Now, some people were saying, I was watching and reading, and I never thought of it this way. I think, it could. I don't know, but the husband could just be, just nobody. He could just be,
guy who
just wants to, he wants to, live in the lap of luxury and just party, and he's not really interested in any of this stuff. But the daughter could be. It seems like the daughter is really pulling away from the mom. That there could be a rebellious streak there,
and that would be really interesting if the rebellious streak for the rebellious daughter would be her getting closer to the Empire.
Or if Mon Mothma has to choose between the Rebel Alliance and her daughter.
Now, this is something I thought about last week, and this is just an out there theory. But when Andor goes back to his home to his home planet, and he's talking with his adopted mother, and trying to get her to come with him and leave, and she says no. And one of the things she says is, "Don't go looking for your sister." She's very insistent about that. Do not go looking for your sister. She's gone. She's dead. Here's my out of there theory. What if Deidre's his sister? And that's why she's saying. And that's why she's saying, "Don't go looking for him because you're only going to find heartache because she went the other way."
Well, that doesn't make any sense because if the other Kenari kids have similar, physical features, she's more than likely going to have brown hair and brown eyes.
I also I think Deirdre's too young.
She's too well, she's too young, but she's also like too pale and too blonde.
That's true. That's true. I am just wondering though if we're going to find out that his sister is part of the Empire.
That I think would be a very strong probability. Possibility, because we don't know for certain at this point.
Yeah,
maybe she's not that young. Maybe I agree with Garrett that she doesn't possess the features.
Now that I think about it, you are right. It would be, and she would be quite a bit, not quite a bit older. But she would be a few years older than Andor. At least I think, when you're looking at them as kids, she looked like she's at least 4 or 5 years older than Andor.
Right.
So.
But then you've got Diego Luna, who's got that timeless age.
Diego Luna is going to start taking over for Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is the guy who never ages.
Maybe. I don't know. Have you seen the trailer for Ant-Man?
I did,
3?
yeah.
Yeah. He still looks like he did in
I don't know. I don't know. I think he's starting a show. Maybe. He was in the last scene of Only Murders in the Building, and in that one he looked exactly the same from like 20, 30 years ago. But for that, he's starting to show his age, I think. Or maybe they aged him. Maybe they instead of de-aging, they re-aged him. They said, this just doesn't look right.
We got to make you look your age, Paul.
Come on. We're gonna spend $5 million just to make you look the age you're supposed to be. All right,
just to make him look like he's 52.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Nuts,
insane. Anyway, this is not the Paul Rudd fan club.
No, it's not. But it could be.
No, Paul Rudd would be awesome in Star Wars.
I would love Paul Rudd in Star Wars, and I'm holding out for that. So just saying. But other things, other little notables. Let's talk about the. Sorry, go on, Garrett. Right?
I was going to move on to the whole conversation that takes place with Mira and Blevin, and how like just the back and forth, and how like she's going toe to toe with him in front of their boss as far as like why she should be given this authority, and she completely just destroys him.
Yeah.
And it's like she's been told time and time again, he's been rubbing it in her face. Her boss has been like, nope, you can't do this. You can't do this. She completely goes behind his back. But now this crucial linchpin event happens on Aldhani. And now she's got the that information. That whole event is a powder keg that's going to lead her to thinking, hey, we've got something else going here. We should be looking into this.
Yeah.
There's there's a line, and again, not to keep referencing other films, but there's a line from National Treasure with who's the guy who's the director of Harvey Keitel's character.
Yeah.
And he comes in after the Declaration of Independence is stolen, and the two FBI agents are like, "Well, we did receive a call from someone warning us that the Declaration of Independence was going to be stolen," and they're all kind of embarrassed. Said, "And why am I just hearing about this now?" And then he said, "Well, we didn't think it was credible." And he just looks at him like, "How about now?" And that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
With the IS even calling everybody in, like,
Well, I thought it was interesting, even how the Empire's response to it. Like, instead of, and you can see Deidre looking at it, from a different viewpoint, but it seemed like everyone else was treating this just like a robbery, not like the beginning of a major rebellion, but like, okay, this is something serious, but it's a robbery. We need to crack down on this type of thing. But still not giving it like the seriousness that maybe they should.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, it's the whole thing Cassian was saying. They're too fat. They're just too hot to impressed with themselves. They don't even stop to think that someone could possibly do this. Well, that's just somebody coming in and robbing them from taking something from their ship. When it comes to something like this, they just see it as some people just petty thieves going after money, and not trying to steal a mass amount of capital to fund a rebellion.
Well,
so
the other thing about it is if you look at going back to history, that's what happened, throughout points of history where you have these splintered factions that are working independently. I mean, you have some coordination, but individually, their antics look like just that. It looks like just a one-off thing, and that's how ISB has been treating it. So when Mira starts saying, "Hey, there's a pattern here," they're like, "No, there's no pattern." But then after a while, you start picking up that there is a pattern, and now that this one, like I said, this whole thing with Aldani is a linchpin event. This is the powder keg that is starting this process to become a much more cohesive thing. Instead of having all these splinters all over the place, they're now kind of starting to merge into a more organized movement, and that is going to be, because you have to think the Empire was built on broad strokes.
Yes.
Yeah. Very broad strokes. A war here, a war there. Whereas the Rebel Alliance is built on
hope.
It's built on the movement of the scalpel.
Yes.
There's precision, there's specific tactics that when you look at it from that macro lens, you aren't going to see it right away.
Right.
And so when you start, but because you have these things popping up so frequently, you're hitting and you're zooming in on those issues. But by the time you've zoomed in, there's been enough of these incidences happening that you don't see it until you zoom back out. And and Dedra's been looking at this whole thing from that macro perspective, because that's how her brain is wired, and she's able to start seeing those patterns. Whereas Blevins he's like, no, these are individual isolated events. They're nothing. You're nothing.
Now, do you think there's a possibility that Dedra in the end joins the rebellion?
Still not.
I don't think so.
The only thing that gives me pause to think that might be true, that might happen, is that she thinks so much like them.
Yeah,
like, that's what
that's kind of my thing, is like she's thinking it could be a situation where she sees like not necessarily the fruitlessness of what the Empire is doing, but maybe she has a situation where she sees firsthand. She's in a position right now where she doesn't see the brutality. She's kind of in her ivory tower, so to speak.
Right.
Maybe she has to go on the ground and she sees like, oh, okay, this is exactly, and maybe she even says like, hey, maybe instead of doing the maybe we do more carrot and less stick. to try and get, these systems in line. And maybe that's what turns her.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Right now, I mean, aside from that one, that's how I would do it. All I'm seeing is someone who's just totally into the cause. But you got to remember, like, ISB is not, they're different factions. The ISB is one thing. They're security. Then there's the Imperial officers. And then there's the Stormtroopers. And then there's the pilots. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different factions that go into this. So it's possible that she's not even, like you said, she may not even be thinking about, the tactics and what's going down on the ground and what oppression is taking place. She may just be thinking of, this is the well-oiled, organized machine of order. And these people over here, these little robbers and thieves, I think are starting a rebellion, and we need to squash that. We need to figure out what's going on with that and squash that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she is totally. There's been no evidence to support one way or the other based on her character at this point.
Right.
One way or the other. It just could be like she's kind of like Odo. Go ahead. We keep going to other things. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Either of you watch that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Constable Odo. Okay. Yeah. He worked for the Cardassians when they owned kids. We're not talking about the weird family on the internet. We're talking about the alien space use. Sorry, just saying, because it's been a long time since the show's been on the air.
Yeah.
But they're the people that own the space station, and then the Bajorans came in with the Federation, and he just worked security for both. Yeah. So he was just about order and justice. I kind of see her as that role, but I don't know which way. Eventually Odo kind of fell into the way of the Federation and the Bajorans and the more, freedom loving. Yeah. And I don't see if that's going to happen with her. They certainly don't make her out to be like,
she's not evil.
I don't know, but they don't make her out to be like a good guy either.
Yeah. She's like you said, that's a great way. I can see her almost the type that, if she's still around when the New Republic takes over, that she'd be like, well, this is the government in charge now. I'll be, working for them.
I'll tell you, you want to know a scene I want to see? I mean, I think it would be a cool scene because I know that this happened. It was never shown. It was never dealt. But a lot, like if you remember in Return of the Jedi, when you see all those generals walk out into the neck with Mon Mothma, like General Nadine and stuff.
Yeah. I think
their backstories were they were Imperials that jumped ship.
Yeah.
So I want to see a conversation between Mon Mothma and her. And you see that battle of wits and that battle of discussion of what let's cut through the whole science and order and everything else, and let's talk about what the Empire is really doing. Do you want to be a part of that, or do you want to use your amazing tactical and analysis skills for good?
Well, so here's my thought on this, because the way that Mira plays off this is like the character that she reminds me most of is she reminds me of if you've seen V for Vendetta, she reminds me of can't remember the actor's name, but the Irish cop that is investigating V, and where he's not playing any sides, he's just investigating. He's looking. He works in the system, but he's keeping an open mind to seeing what's happening. And the closer he gets, the more he investigates, the more he sees the atrocities that have been committed by the people in charge. Okay,
right.
And so eventually he gets to the point where he just follows his instincts, and he has an opportunity to stop Natalie Portman from doing the big act at the end of the movie, and he makes the choice not to. Okay, and I think Mira can be a similar character, and this is just a potential prediction. I can't say for sure, but she strikes me as one of those characters that she's doing a job. Okay, she's trying to be as objective about it, but if she serves the Empire, she understands that if she violates her code of conduct, it could get her into some serious trouble if she goes against the grain.
Right.
So she's probably heard some of the rumors, some of the horror stories, but. Because if you're working in security, if you're working in intelligence, you're going to hear those things.
Yeah.
But she's essentially a counter-terrorist agent.
Right.
And what's going to happen is I think she's going to see, the more she investigates, she's going to see those atrocities. She's going to see those horror stories for herself instead of just hearing them as rumors. And that is going to be a deciding factor where if we do get that scene that Will's talking about with her and Mon Mothma, which I think would be fantastic. This opportunity to discuss or to see them discuss what's going on. And because what would happen is she would have this cognitive dissonance where like she sees it, but her mind doesn't want to believe that these things are happening. But then she has that conversation with Mon Mothma. And maybe it's a follow-up conversation where the first time Mothma approaches and says, hey, look, this is what's going on. She doesn't want to believe it, but then she investigates. She sees it for herself, and then she comes back to Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be a fun trajectory.
Let's talk about the other side of that coin. And I think you guys might have already talked about this, about when you're talking about obsession is Cyril.
Oh, yeah.
Like you talk about a man who is obsessed. And again, the more and more I look at it, I see Les Miserables. That's who I see with this, with Cyril, is Les Miserables. Someone who's so obsessed with finding this person and not clearing his name. I mean, he even says that whenever he's, I was, brought up on charges for just trying to do my job. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this, on Cyril?
Yeah, I think this past episode I felt that they were just trying to map out the parallels between Cyril and Cassian. Yeah. Whereas at the end of the episode, you're kind of following both their stories. And, obviously Cyril's is a much more subdued story. All right. And it's really just a little, oh, hello there. And I said, hello there.
Yes.
Somebody get this big walking carpet out of our way, please.
Down, girl. Down.
Oh my God. Anyway, so you have parallel stories going on, and Cyril is, his story is he ends up in a prison, but a more figurative prison. Okay, whereas Cassian ends up in a literal prison. And we'll talk about that when we're done with this. But Cassian ends up in a jail cell, essentially, and Cyril ends up in what is a cubicle version of a jail cell.
Yeah,
and that's I think that's maybe they're just trying to strike two seemingly polar opposite individuals, kind of suffering the same fate at the moment, but with just a different, with just a just gussied up differently. So that's kind of what I think that they were using Siren to tell. And where his story goes from here is anybody's guess. But I do think he is obsessed.
I think he's going to use his position, like the job he's at now. He's going to find something, and you're going to see Cyril and Deidre connect somehow. Like he's going to bring some sort of information, and then they are going to kind of, use that to go after Cassian. Right. But yeah, let's talk about that. That whole scene with Cassian's arrest.
Well, first you got to talk about him being in Space Miami.
Yeah, I love that.
All I want, I started singing "Do do do do." Thank you for being a friend. I'm like, wow. I'm surprised I didn't. And I would have loved it if they did this. If they had like 4 alien little old ladies, sitting on the beach, like bantering at each other. Oh. I was like,
well, and to be fair, Estelle Getty does kind of look like an alien.
I agree. Yes. So to have them, I bet you that conversation happened. Somebody was like, "Do we do it? Do we go that far? Do we push that button?" And it's like,
I would have liked to hear just like.
I want to hear the pitch.
Yeah. Or when he's walking down here, just a space like a sci-fi version of the Miami Vice theme.
Oh yeah.
and see an alien walking with like the suit, the white suit with the. I would have, but anyway, I digress. I think you have to go back to when you talk about that whole scene. You have to go back before with Cassian's talk with his, I guess you could say, mother.
Yeah, it's his. We'll just call him his mother.
Yeah, Marva. I think that's her name, Marva.
Yeah, and, Marva Andor.
And how she basically, he's saying we'll go to a place where basically the Empire can't find us, and she basically, in a kind of a roundabout way, basically tells him there isn't a place like that anymore.
Right.
You can't find that place. And he sees that, he finds that out. He thinks he can get away. That he can just, and like, he's not doing anything at the time.
No, he did nothing wrong.
He's literally did nothing wrong.
No. Are you in it? That's the guy said. Are you in it? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I'm like,
that was the thing that's frustrating is like he shows up like well after those guys come running through, and it's like he's not running away from anybody. He's not holding a weapon. He's not involved in anything, any way, shape, or form. He's just walking in the literal same direction. And I'm like, this is bonkers. Like I want to know what happened on this beach that gets the local law enforcement and the sand troopers or the beach troopers or whatever you want to call them so riled that they would just arrest. I mean, don't get me wrong. Andor is a criminal. He has done some criminal stuff.
Yeah. But nobody
knows that.
No. You know what, though? That was a commentary. That was definitely a moment of commentary of what goes on sometimes in the world, especially if you are of different colors, and I know that for a fact. I have friends and coworkers who have told me this in the town I live in, that they get stopped and sometimes even frisked, for no reason, clean, 100% clean records. Just, they happen to be of a different, the color, not the, anyway, I don't want to go down that road into it, but I'm just saying it's commentary for a sad truth of the world. And of course that's so much of this story is, but that one hit closer to me because I just have experienced it through friends and coworkers. So
what did you guys think of, when you saw the KX droid come out of the water?
Oh my god!
I
knew it wasn't going to be K2SO. Because
no, but still, just seeing that, and you're just like, and just like holding the two,
dragging it along,
along, and just.
I like how he sounded like he was choking him, and he was like, he didn't. He just said, "Hold on to him." He didn't say choke or whatever he said.
But even that trial scene, just like the judge could care less.
Yeah, couldn't care less, but
couldn't care less. Like,
right?
Yeah, she's eating, which to me, those looked exactly like pistachios.
Space pistachios. Space pistachios. Yeah,
pistachios.
I like that, space pistachios.
Pistachios.
No, that was great. I absolutely. It was just exactly what you would expect a lower court in Star Wars to be like. And
it was just like one, like, all right, next. And even having the credit card, looked like a credit card.
Yeah, it was a credit card machine. And
I actually looked, I was watching Screen Crush, and I don't know if they did it on purpose, but the Arabush for his, when they do that, was completely off of what his actual thing was. Like, I think, what did he got 5 years?
He got 6 years.
6 years for inciting a riot, anti-imperial. But on the card, he was given 25 years.
Yeah. I think that all right. I have two thoughts about that. It could just be that people just threw out anything. They put an intern in charge of setting up the Arabesh, just come up with anything. They didn't tell them what the story was, so was going to be completely random. Or they did that on purpose to see if anyone would notice, and they knew they would, and they just wanted to mess with us. So,
of course, because if there's any group of fans that is versed in being able to read the made-up fictional language of their universe, it's going to be Star Wars fans, because nobody can read Elvish.
Yeah.
Amazon can put whatever they want on the screen, and nobody's going to be like, "That's wrong."
Yep. I guess you're right. I think we covered quite a bit of the story. I think that there's a lot going on in this one. It wasn't because it was multiple stories going on at once, or at least, relating to it, but to the same story, but just from the different viewpoints,
Yeah.
But
point of view.
so many great just storytelling moments, and we went over them all, but every scene from the moment that Luthen and Mon Mothma are having their conversation, Mon Mothma with her childhood friend from Chandrila having their conversation, Luthen's assistant with what's her name, or the one who did the heist to go and kill Andor, Andor and his mother and their droid, the flashback sequence. I mean, just the whole sequence with the ISB in the round room, in the round table room, Lauren showing up at the beginning. I mean, it was like from moment to moment, it was just, gripping. That's the best word I could use to describe it. So
I would agree with that. And what I thought was interesting is it almost was like this episode was kind of it feels like almost a placeholder to get the characters into position for what's going to happen over the next 5 episodes. You do have some really good content that happens, but for the most part, it's mostly just getting them ready for the next sequence of building action.
Right.
Before we go into the climax of the season.
Yeah.
Right. And we will see where that brings us.
Yeah, we will.
Now, one last thing I wanted to ask. They were saying, now I've gotten I got mixed reports on this, so maybe one of you guys has an understanding. One article I read, and again, I know you can't trust anything you read on the internet. That's what
Abraham Lincoln says.
Yes, exactly. Abe said that.
As did his pet velociraptor.
Mm-hmm. So, named Skippy. No, I don't know. So I've read an article that said that it's one of the least watched Star Wars streaming service shows, which, I don't know where they get that number. I guess they just know the numbers. But then I also read a number that it's one of the highest rated on a Nielsen rating, which also tracks watchability. So
yeah,
I'm not sure where that's going. I mean, I can imagine if somebody were to tell me that the show is not being watched as much, I can understand that. Only because I don't think it's been advertised quite in the same way. It's not been overly marketed. You know what I mean? It has some marketing. It hasn't been not marketed, just not overly marketed. And I don't think it's geared mainly to kids, which I think is a big part of that. But of course the ratings, if you look, all you got to do is look at IMDb, and it's like every episode is like an 8 to a 10. So which I think is telling. But I just thought it was interesting that those two articles, first it's saying it's not being watched, and it's saying it is being watched. So I don't know. But all I know is I'm watching it, so that's fine.
I'm watching it too, and hey, it's our show, so the fact that we're actually watching it and having something to talk about is that I think that's what it's important.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, as we wrap things up, first of all, let's go with Will. Will, why do you tell the people out there where they can find you?
You can find me living in YouTube land. Nice little cot set up in there. And I put out videos on Sundays and Wednesdays, all about Darth Tuba's Star Wars unboxing show, mostly about Star Wars collecting, but just general Star Wars stuff in general, Star Wars talking and discussion. I've been starting to dabble with the YouTube Shorts, sending out quick minute unboxings that seems to be getting a little more traffic. So if you check me out there, or on Instagram and Twitter at Darth Tuba, and Darth Tuba's Star Wars unboxing page on Facebook, and you can email me darthtuba77@gmail.com.
And Garrett, what about you?
Well, you can also find me on YouTube. My channel is called GKJ Publishing. My show is called The Right Way. I do top 10 book recommendations. I do author interviews, live streams, and I do this coming weekend. I have my first Creators Corner writing tip of season 5. We are covering the beginnings and the basics of world building and what goes into that. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing. And then you can find my books, if you are so inclined, at archivesofthefivekingdoms.com/books.
Awesome. All right. As for here at War of the Stars, of course, we are, of course.
Yeah. Before you close out, though, John, you said that you had something that you needed to.
Yes, I do.
Red 5
Network. Red 5 Network. So the Red 5 Tavern, our Red 5 Network Dungeons and Dragons podcast needs your help. Tom, aka Eldon the Wood Elf, had a horrific house fire on October 18th of this year and lost everything. Tom and his wife Jennifer, 13-year-old son, and 4-year-old daughter are now without home, clothes, shoes, and everything. And the Poconos weather is getting colder by the day. Red 5 Tavern has set up a GoFundMe titled #TavernForTom. The crew will be hosting a 24-hour charity stream event beginning Sunday night at midnight on their YouTube and Twitch accounts. Please share this information on your socials and pop into the live chat anytime on October 29th. More details to come. With your help, we hope to raise something for our brother and his family. Nothing is too small, and nothing is too small. We humbly ask you to aid us in our quest. Thank you. And we will get a link to that in the description of the show when we put the show out. So definitely go check that out and help our fellow Red 5 brother Tom in this hour of need for him. So
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Also, as for us, of course, you can find us at warofthestars@gmail.com, warofthestars1@gmail.com. That is also our Twitter handle. Sorry.
That's okay.
I
know this.
Yeah. Just check that out. We do different polls and stuff on there all the time. Also, Facebook, just search War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast for our Facebook page. Facebook group, and also patreon.com/War of the Stars, which we'll be coming with a major announcement here concerning Patreon. We have it back up and running again, and we got some fun stuff coming up here within the next couple of months that we are working on. So stay tuned for a major announcement concerning our Patreon. You can also check us out on our Spreadshirt store. Spreadshirt.com/War of the Stars. Check that out and check out all the cool merch that we have on there. And I believe, also you can check us out wherever fine podcasts are heard. Just search War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, and check us out there. And as always, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
Bye, folks.
Peace.